got a lot of stuff to get into here on Four Verts, including a possible divorce between Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. But I did some quick research, and the most subscribers we've picked up in a video this month is 72. Can we top that today? Can we get 73 or more subscribers on this Four Verts episode? If you want daily and free NFL and college football content, let's make it happen. Hit that subscribe button. All right, let's talk a little Micah Parsons here, as Adam Schefter believes that a split is likely coming between the star pass rusher and America's team. Here's what he had to say on the Pat McAfee show. He said, "I want to preface this by saying these things can always change. It changed for CeeDee Lamb last year. It changed for Dak Prescott. This one doesn't feel that way. That doesn't mean it can't change, but the way that it's trending, it feels most likely that these sides are heading for a divorce today than they would be for a new deal. That's what I see when I look into my crystal ball. I don't know if that means there will be a trade today or after this season. I think the most likely scenario," Schefter says, "would be that he's there this year, his contract expires, and they franchise tag him. And then after they franchise tag him, they'd have the ability to trade him next year." Here's the question in that scenario that Schefter calls the most likely one. Is Micah Parsons willing to put his balls all the way on the table, sorry for that visual, and play under a fifth-year option? Because it's one thing for Dallas to not have extended him last offseason, even though he was already extension eligible in a proven superstar pass rusher. It's pretty egregious for him to not get a new deal and to play out a fifth-year option. I mean, he would be the best player to have played out a fifth-year option in God knows how long. One doesn't even come to mind, if I'm being completely honest. Because if it's a player you're going to you opt into the fifth-year option, those guys almost always get extended. It really just buys you more time to do the extension. Rarely does said player play that fifth year out. So is Micah willing to say, "Oh, you're just going to have me play at this number because I'm under contract? F you, I'm not showing up week one"? That's the question I have, because his number for this year, look, it's not a bad number. I'd love to have $24 million, but relative to the contracts we've seen given out this offseason, there's no long-term security with that number. It's clearly an underpaid number when it comes to Micah Parsons. So I don't know if he'd be willing to do that or not. In terms of where he would be at that number, that makes him like the 8th or 9th highest paid edge rusher in the NFL if he plays out at 24. Again, not bad, but when Myles Garrett and TJ Watt go for 40 plus, when Danielle Hunter, even though it's only a 1-year extension, gets 36, Max Crosby 35 per year on a 3-year extension, that'd be tough pill to swallow if you're Micah Parsons. So he would technically come in at number 8 highest paid pass rusher, or edge rusher specifically, but I just don't get the sense he's willing to do that. He's an old school cat. Like, he showed up to camp with the intentions to practice while working out this deal. Then Jerry started firing shots in the media, and that's when he and his agent were like, "Yeah, we're not going to practice now. We're going to hold in." But I don't know. Chris Jones did this a few years ago where he didn't play week one. The Chiefs lost to the Lions, and then they gave him a pay raise for that year and then revisited it the next year and gave him a long-term deal. Could that be an option? Like, "Hey, Micah, we'll give you 10 extra million. You make $34 million this year, and then we'll revisit it next year." Could they come to some sort of agreement where they do that, but they're not allowed to franchise tag him? That way he has the freedom to either re-sign or sign elsewhere. We'll see how this plays out, but Jerry, just a week or two ago, when asked, he's like, "Look, I'm not sure if he'll play week one against the Eagles." So, and he seems content with that. He seems like, "Look, we want him here. He's under contract, but we're not going to force the issue to get a new deal that we don't think makes sense," even though clearly he's a player that you should want to keep around if you are the Dallas Cowboys. And let's face it, the clock is ticking. The Cowboys play in the first game of the year. That is 2 weeks from tomorrow against the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. Does Jerry Jones want to roll into Lincoln Financial Field without Micah Parsons and potentially get embarrassed on national television in front of, what do you think week one does? That matchup, those fan bases, 40 million people? That's very much on the table. This Cowboys defense could have issues as is. If Micah's not out there, it could be a field day for Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and company with that Philadelphia Eagles offense. So when it comes down to it, you wonder, will history repeat itself? Because recent history suggests that Jerry will blink and that he will pay up at the last minute. Now, the way he's talked this year does feel different. The way it's been reported on the outside feels like this is a different scenario. It never really felt like CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott weren't going to get paid by Dallas. This time around, you at least feel like there is a world where they wouldn't pay Micah, they'd want him to play this year out, or that they would consider a trade. I would still bet against a trade if I was a betting man, but we know teams have called. Green Bay's been rumored to do it. I'm sure others have as well. So this is going to be an interesting, let's call it 10 days, because if he's not back within 3 or 4 days of the opener, I mean, that's a big ask to have him play week 1. I mean, I'd play him with no practice time. He's that good. But would a team? I'm not really sure. So, if we're here this time next week, it's really real at that point in terms of him potentially missing games. What happens with Micah? Predict it for us. Type E for he gets extended, T for he gets traded, or 5 if he just plays the 5th-year option out. And again, I'm not convinced he'd be willing to do that. Maybe he would. Maybe he would just suck it up and do it. But that would obviously be the scenario that he does not want. Okay, more NFL stories to discuss. But first, I do want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor, PrizePicks. Football season is back. PrizePicks is back. Whether it's preseason football, college football, don't miss any of the action on PrizePicks. It's very easy to play PrizePicks is you just pick more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 player lineups. If you get your lineup right, you can win up to 2,000 times your money. That's right, folks. You can turn $10 into 20,000 with certain PrizePicks lineups. Week 0 is here. So if you want to get in on that action, you can. And also week 1 for the big fellas. You guys know what I'm talking about. That'll be here as well. So start setting your lineups. You already got a max discount with Dak Prescott. You take more than half a passing yard, pair that with something else. If you just want to do a 2-player lineup, you're already halfway home to a victory right there. Get started with PrizePicks today. Download the PrizePicks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Link is in the comments and in the description. Okay, some other NFL stories I want to discuss on today's show. The Vikings want to trade for a receiver. That is being reported by Tom Pelissero and others. He had the scoop early this morning saying that they are seriously exploring veteran receivers in the trade market. He did add that Justin Jefferson is on track to play week 1 against the Bears. His early season running may not be on the roster, running mate. Well, we know Jordan Addison's not playing the first 3 games. He's suspended, so I think that's a component of this. But also, Jalen Naylor's dinged up. He hasn't had the best camp. Their wide receiver 3 position is kind of in flux. So the first 3 games, you have Jetta and a bunch of question marks. And even when Jordan Addison is back, do they feel good about the guys after those 2? It kind of seems like they don't. Now, some receivers I think are worth monitoring. Obviously, the 2 big-name ones, Terry McLaurin and Tyreek Hill. I'd be surprised if McLaurin got traded. I could see Tyreek Hill if the Dolphins just kind of want to pivot off him and his kind of just energy, if you will. Obviously, he's been a championship-winning player in Kansas City, but feels like it's kind of gotten sideways in Miami. I could see them wanting to pivot, but that feels more like a trade deadline deal. Alec Pierce is an interesting one. I don't love his fit now that Daniel Jones is the starter because he's such a vertical downfield threat. I almost wonder if they would consider moving him. Adam Thielen could always bring him back to Minnesota. Final year of his contract with Carolina. Jacoby Myers, there's been some chatter. Our Raiders Report host, Mitchell Renz, told me that he heard that Jacoby's upset with the lack of a new extension. So could that go sideways? We'll have to wait and see. Of course, some smaller names to keep an eye on as well. Diana Rossini added that in addition to the Vikings, the Jets are among several teams monitoring the trade market for a potential wide receiver. And then, of course, the 49ers as well. It was well documented and reported that San Francisco tried to trade for John Mechie before the Eagles swooped in and got him. Okay, the Bears had a little news earlier. They extended their backup quarterback, Tyson Bagent. The first multi-year contract extension for a quarterback in Chicago since Jay Cutler in 2014. Little trivia for you, but 2 years, $10 million for Bagent to stick around through 2027. This was the final year of his 3-year undrafted free agency, 3-year contract. He could get up to $16 million with incentives. And look, I think he's an ascending young player. He's got starting aspirations. I think there is a world where he could start in the NFL someday. Probably not for the Bears unless Caleb Williams flames out, but sometimes you're only as good as your backup quarterback. I always say this, if your quarterback misses a month, can your backup go 2-2? That's exactly what he did his rookie year when Justin Fields missed some time. So he's already proven he can be a serviceable player, and that was as an undrafted rookie. Now he's in his 3rd year. He's looked good in Ben Johnson's offense in the preseason. So I think a nice little team-friendly, fair deal for the Bears and Bagent as they lock in their backup quarterback. And then lastly, the Dolphins have activated veteran tight end Darren Waller off the PUP list. He, of course, has been kind of rehabbing, getting himself into football shape after he took last year off for a 1-year retirement. And, it kind of surprised me when this trade first went down with the Giants, A, that he was coming out of retirement, but B, he was pretty damn good his last year in New York, and that was with, Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, and Tyrod Taylor slinging the rock. Tua is certainly better than those guys. So I'm fascinated to see if he could still play. I mean, at his peak, he was a top 3 to 5 tight end. It was kind of Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Darren Waller was kind of that distant third guy, especially from his days with the Raiders. So I don't know if you're expecting that, but can he catch 50 balls? I mean, I think that could happen, be that third weapon after Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. So fascinated to see how he looks. I think it's a pretty good fit in Mike McDaniel's offense, and tight ends in Miami aren't very good. So I think he's going to get an opportunity to play quite a bit. All right, that's it for today's 4 Verts episode. Appreciate the continued support. Let's beat 72 subscribers on today's show. If you haven't already, please support love. Please show love and support the show by subscribing. My name's Harrison Graham. We will see you guys soon here on 4 Verts.